It all began on a busy evening in the city. Expensive cars zoomed by, the streets were alive with honking horns, flashing lights, and hurried footsteps. Among them was Ethan, the only son of a multi-millionaire businessman. Ethan grew up surrounded by luxury, his life filled with fast cars, lavish parties, and an ego that matched his wealth. To him, ordinary people were nothing more than background scenery in his glamorous life. That evening, Ethan was behind the wheel of his brand new sports car. He wasn't paying attention to the road, his eyes were on his phone, texting his friends about the nightclub they were about to hit. Music blasted through the speakers, his head bobbing to the beat. And then, it happened. At an intersection, a young woman stepped onto the crosswalk. She was visibly pregnant, her hands clutching grocery bags, carefully making her way across the street. Ethan, too distracted to notice, accelerated without a second thought. Tires screeched, a scream echoed, and the next second, the woman was on the ground, her groceries scattered everywhere, her body trembling in pain. The world froze for a moment. Bystanders gasped, some rushed to her aid, while Ethan, in shock, stepped out of his car. His heart was racing, but instead of fear for her safety, his first words were, "Do you know who I am? Do you realize how expensive this car is? You should have been careful." The crowd erupted in anger. "She's pregnant. Are you blind?" Someone shouted. "Call an ambulance." Another yelled, but Ethan refused to admit his fault. His arrogance consumed him, and he barked at everyone, "Back off. It's her fault. She jumped in front of my car." The woman, writhing in pain, tried to speak but her voice was weak. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Please, my baby." The ambulance arrived quickly, and paramedics rushed her into the vehicle. Ethan, worried about the scandal, made a few calls to his lawyer and father, trying to cover up the incident before it made headlines. His father, being a powerful man, assured him, "Don't worry, son. I'll take care of it. Money fixes everything." But Ethan didn't know that the truth was about to unfold in a way no amount of money could stop. At the hospital, the woman was admitted into emergency care. Doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize her and protect her unborn child. Outside, the waiting room filled with people who had witnessed the accident. They were furious, demanding justice. Ethan sat there with his arms crossed, impatient and annoyed, as if he were the victim. And then, the doors swung open. A man entered the hospital, his presence commanding attention immediately. He wasn't dressed in an expensive suit, nor did he carry himself with the arrogance of wealth. Yet, the strength in his eyes silenced the room. His name was Daniel. He was the husband of the injured woman. When Daniel saw his wife lying pale and weak on the hospital bed, his heart shattered. He held her hand gently, whispering words of comfort, promising her that everything would be okay. The love and pain in his eyes were undeniable. Everyone around could feel it. Then, he turned toward Ethan. Ethan smirked, trying to dismiss the gravity of the situation. "Listen, man, accidents happen. I'm sure your wife will be fine. Don't make a big deal out of it. I'll pay for her hospital bills, all right. Money solves everything." But Daniel's expression didn't change. Calmly, he walked closer and said in a firm, steady voice, "Do you know who you just hurt?" Ethan laughed mockingly. "A random woman crossing the street. Don't act like she's some kind of celebrity. I told you, I'll cover the costs. Let's just move on." The room went quiet. People waited, sensing that something powerful was about to be revealed. Daniel leaned in, his voice low but sharp as steel. "That woman you hit, she's my wife. And do you know who I am? I'm the man who once saved your father's life." Ethan's smirk vanished instantly. His face went pale. "What are you talking about?" Daniel continued, his voice unwavering. "Years ago, your father was in an accident. His car had flipped over, and it was me who pulled him out of the wreckage. I held his hand when he was bleeding and begged him to stay alive until help arrived. He promised me something that night, that he would always protect my family if I ever needed it. And now, here we are." Gasps filled the room. Even Ethan's lawyer froze in disbelief. Suddenly, the power shifted. Ethan wasn't the untouchable millionaire's son anymore. He was the reckless boy who nearly destroyed the life of the very woman connected to his father's debt of gratitude. Ethan stuttered, I didn't know, I didn't mean." Daniel raised a hand, silencing him. "Intentions don't erase actions. You could have killed her. You could have killed my child. Money won't fix this. Respect, humility, and accountability, that's what matters. And that's something you've never learned." The weight of Daniel's words crushed Ethan's arrogance. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. Tears welled in his eyes, not from guilt alone but from the realization that his actions had nearly destroyed the one thing money could never buy, a family's love. As the night went on, the doctors came out with good news. The woman and her baby were safe, though she needed rest and care. Relief swept through the room, but the lesson remained carved deep in Ethan's heart. Days later, Ethan returned to the hospital, not in his flashy car, not with his entourage, but alone, humbled. He carried flowers in trembling hands and walked into the room where Daniel's wife was resting. He placed the bouquet on her bedside and whispered, "I'm sorry. I was blind. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I will change. I promise." Daniel, standing by her side, studied Ethan carefully. He could see the sincerity in his eyes now, the arrogance had faded. "Change," Daniel said, "not for us, but for yourself. Don't let your wealth define you. Let your actions do that." From that day forward, Ethan was never the same. He sold his sports car, distanced himself from his reckless friends, and started volunteering at the hospital where the accident had happened. He spent his days helping patients, listening to their stories, and slowly learning what true value meant. His father, upon hearing the truth, was deeply moved. He confessed to Ethan, "Daniel did save my life, and I've always been grateful. But seeing him save yours, not from death, but from arrogance, makes me even more indebted." And so, the young man who once believed he was above everyone else learned the greatest truth of all, that no amount of wealth or pride could stand against the power of humility, gratitude, and love. This story reminds us that arrogance can blind us, but the truth will always find its way to open our eyes. Ethan's journey was not about losing his riches, but about finding his heart. And in the end, that's worth more than all the millions in the world. So, the next time you find yourself looking down on someone, remember this story. You never know whose kindness or sacrifice might one day save your life, or the life of someone you love. Thank you for staying with us through this powerful story. If it touched your heart, share it with others and remind them that compassion and humility are the true treasures of life. Stay kind, stay humble, and we'll see you in the next story.